One moment, Tom Aspinall was defending his UFC heavyweight title. The next, he was telling the referee he couldn't see, sparking one of the most controversial and flat-out bizarre main event endings we've seen in a long, long time. An arena buzzing with energy fell into a state of chaos. The UFC 321 main event was supposed to be a legacy fight, a clash between two of the best heavyweights on the planet. Instead, it ended with confusion, frustration, and a result that left absolutely no one happy.
Rebook these guys as soon as Tom is able to get back in there?
Yeah, total pain in the ass, but yes.
This is the story of the eye poke that has the entire MMA world arguing a story that shows the brutal reality of fighter safety, the weight of crowd expectation, and a rulebook that feels like it's always one step behind the action. The stakes for UFC 321 couldn't have been higher. Tom Aspinall, the undisputed heavyweight champion, was making his very first title defense. Aspinall's ride to the top has been a whirlwind of speed, power, and skill that saw him grab the interim belt and then unify it. Fighting in front of a roaring crowd, he was the hometown hero carrying the hopes of a nation. In the other corner stood Ciryl Gane, the French phenom known as Bon Gamin, a truly special technical striker. Gane's only career losses had come at the absolute highest level. Plenty of critics wrote him off after his loss to John Jones, but his climb back to a title shot proved just how skilled and resilient he is. This was his third crack at the undisputed title, a shot at redemption, and his chance to finally prove he was the best heavyweight walking the planet. The story wrote itself, the explosive, all-around game of Aspinall versus the surgical precision of Gane. Would Aspinall's power be too much, or would Gane's footwork and kickboxing be a puzzle too tricky to solve? The atmosphere in the packed arena in Abu Dhabi was electric. Fans were ready for a 5-round war between two giants at the peak of their powers, and for just over 4 minutes, that's exactly what we got. The first round kicked off as a tense, fast-paced chess match. Gane looked sharp, landing clean jabs that busted up Aspinall's nose and stuffing an early takedown with ease. He was finding his rhythm, looking to prove the doubters wrong. Aspinall was right there with him, landing his own heavy shots and trying to close the distance. It was a genuinely competitive and thrilling start. It felt like we were in for a classic. Then, at 4:35 of the very first round, disaster struck. During a chaotic exchange, Gane reached out with his left hand and his fingers slid right past Aspinall's guard. Replays showed a nasty, accidental eye poke that scraped the champion's eye. Aspinall immediately fell back, turned away, and signaled to the referee, Jason Herzog. The fight was stopped. The crowd, not sure what was happening, went from a roar to a confused murmur. As per the rules, Aspinall was given 5 minutes to recover. But it was obvious this wasn't just a minor foul. Aspinall kept telling the ref and the ringside doctor the same chilling words, "I can't see." He was clearly in pain, and his frustration was boiling over. He couldn't open his eye. His vision was gone. The 5 minutes ran out, but nothing had improved. With no other option, the referee waved off the fight. The official result was announced, a no contest. The crowd absolutely erupted, raining boos down on the octagon. Some were aimed at Gane, but many were directed at a heartbroken Aspinall, with fans accusing their champion of quitting. In the cage, Aspinall yelled back, his voice choked with emotion, "I just got free!" and poked knuckle deep in the eyeball. What am I supposed to do?
Guys, I just got poked knuckle deep in the eyeball. Why are you booing? What am I supposed to do about it? I didn't poke. I can't see.
The dream night had become a public nightmare. The immediate fan reaction was pure anger, which is understandable. Nobody buys a ticket to see a main event end in a no contest. But to get why the fight ended this way and why Gane wasn't disqualified, we have to look at the official MMA rules. The rules draw a hard line between an intentional foul and an accidental one. Here, the ref ruled the eye poke was unintentional. When an accidental foul stops a fighter from continuing, the result depends on when it happened. If it's after 2 rounds of a 3-round fight, or after 3 rounds of a 5-round championship fight, they go to the judges for a technical decision. But because the poke happened in the time's first round asterisk, the fight hadn't become official yet. In that case, if the injured fighter can't go on, the only possible result is a no contest. It means the fight is void. It's like it never happened. Because a title can't change hands unless there's a winner, Tom Aspinall kept his belt. So while it was a terrible outcome for everyone, the ref's decision was, by the book, the correct one. While the rules are black and white, the reality for a fighter is anything but. After the fight, the severity of Aspinall's injury was clear. He was immediately taken to a local hospital for evaluation, and his team later confirmed he'd suffered a significant corneal abrasion. The experience, Aspinall said, was way scarier than the brutal knee injury he suffered against Curtis Blades, because this time he had no idea what it meant for his sight. This is the champion's dilemma. On one side, you have the warrior code, the idea that a fighter should push through anything. Some commentators, like former fighter Anthony Smith, pointed out that fighters often find a way to keep going. Even Aljamain Sterling suggested that by saying the words, "I cannot see," Aspinall basically forced the ref to stop the fight. But on the other side, there's the very real, life-changing risk of permanent eye damage. What's a champion supposed to do? Risk his career and his quality of life just to survive another round? Is any fight worth losing your vision over? Michael Bisping, a man who knows the cost of eye injuries better than anyone, having lost sight in one eye during his career, immediately came to Aspinall's defense. He knew that when a fighter truly can't see, the fight is over. There's no choice to be made. This kind of controversy splits everyone, from fans to fighters. Before we dive into the fallout and what's next for the heavyweights, let us know your immediate reaction in the comments. Was it the right call for Aspinall to stop the fight? While you're down there, make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay on top of all the biggest stories in the UFC. After the event, the reactions came pouring in. Ciryl Gane was apologetic and disappointed, saying it was obviously not on purpose and that he felt terrible for the fans and for Tom. The MMA community was mostly on Aspinall's side, with fighters and analysts all sharing their frustration with the finish. UFC President Dana White, however, had a more complicated view. While he called the whole thing a total pain in the ass and confirmed they would book an immediate rematch, some of his other comments stirred up trouble. White mentioned that Gane looked damn good and had Aspinall bloodied up, before adding that Tom didn't want to continue. That last part was seen by many as a cheap shot at a champion who had just suffered a legitimate, fight-ending injury. No matter who said what, the result leaves the heavyweight division stuck in neutral. The question of who the best heavyweight in the world is remains unanswered. An immediate rematch is the only fight that makes sense, and that's a feeling shared by White, the fighters, and the fans. If anything, the controversy has just thrown more fuel on the fire, guaranteeing that when these two finally run it back, the stakes will be even higher. Maybe the biggest thing to come out of UFC 321 is that it's forced everyone to talk about the one problem the UFC just can't seem to solve: eye pokes. This wasn't just some random incident. It was a disaster on the biggest stage possible, and it has led to urgent calls for change. The design of the UFC glove has been criticized for years because it seems to encourage eye pokes. Unlike boxing gloves, the open finger design, which you need for grappling, naturally lets fighters extend their fingers when they're parrying punches or measuring distance. It's a flaw that has ruined countless fights. Commentators like Joe Rogan and Michael Bisping have once again started banging the drum for reform. Rogan has argued for curving the glove design, similar to the ones used in Pride FC, to make it harder to extend the fingers. Bisping has pushed for stricter rules, like an immediate point deduction for any fighter who extends their fingers toward an opponent's face, forcing them to be more careful. According to insiders, this incident might just be the final straw. High-level meetings are reportedly being set up to discuss real rule changes, including harsher penalties and, finally, a potential glove redesign. While the UFC has tried to introduce new gloves before, the Aspinall-Gane disaster has created a new sense of urgency. This horrible event could be the very thing that finally leads to real, meaningful change for fighter safety. The UFC 321 main event will be remembered not for a highlight reel knockout, but for the chaos of an ending no one wanted. It was the perfect storm: a freak accident, a serious injury, and a set of rules that led to an empty feeling for everyone. Tom Aspinall was left with a damaged eye and unfair criticism. Ciryl Gane was robbed of his chance at redemption, and the fans went home angry and frustrated. While the boos and accusations have died down as the medical facts came out, the debate is still raging. It highlights the core tension in combat sports. We expect these athletes to be superhuman, but we forget they are still human. This incident didn't expose a flaw in a champion's heart, but a flaw in the tools and rules of the sport itself. The heavyweight division is now on hold, waiting for a rematch that feels more essential than ever. So, what do you think? Was Tom Aspinall right to protect his vision? Or should a champion fight through anything? And did this whole mess prove that the sport itself needs to change? Let us know your final take in the comments. And as always, for more deep dives into the biggest stories in MMA, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload.